चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। नमो विष्णुपादाय राधिकायै प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्त नारायण गोस्वामिनिति नामिने। श्रीकृष्णलीलाकथने सुदक्षम् औदार्य माधुर्य गुणैशयुक्तम् वरं वरेण्यं पुरुषं महान्तं श्रीनारायणं त्वं शिरसा नमामि। त्रिदण्डिनां भक्तशिरोमणिं च श्रीकृष्णपादाब्जधृतये हृदि चैतन्यलीलामृतसारसारं नारायणं त्वं सततं प्रपद्ये। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्याय नाम्ने गौरत्वसे नमः। हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांता राधा कांता नमस्तुते। श्याम सुंदर शिखंड शेखर स्मेरहार मुरली मनोहर राधिका रसिक मां कृपा निधे स्वप्रिया चरण किंकरीं कुरु। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे तन्नय माम शरणन्तिके। भक्त्या विहीनापराधलक्ष्यै क्षिप्ताश्च कामादितरङ्गमध्यै कृपामयि त्वं शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम्। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। So first of all, I offer my unlimited obeisances unto the divine lotus feet of my most worshipable spiritual master, His Divine Grace, Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj. My unlimited obeisances unto the divine lotus feet of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, who has composed this beautiful Jaiva Dharam book. And then my unlimited obeisances to all our Rupanuga Guru Varga and as well as all the assembled devotees. So thanks again, everyone, for joining today's second class on Jaiva Dharam. So last time we covered some of the introduction. Jaiva Dharam we discussed is a very important scripture wherein Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur has very concisely explained the essence of all the Vedic literature as well as the Gaudiya Siddhanta. Srila Gurudev, he himself read this book close to 108 times. When Param Gurudev, Srila Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, he ordered Srila Gurudev to translate Jaiva Dharam, which was originally written in Bengali. So he translated this into Hindi, and to understand and make sure that he captures very carefully and concisely all the Siddhanta that Bhaktivinoda Thakur has explained, Gurudev himself read this book close to 100 times. So this tells us that how important it is important to read Jaiva Dharam. So last time also, as I requested, if you want to get the full benefit of this course, please try and read the section that we are going to cover. And then as we go through in this class, you will have a better understanding, and then you ask questions as well. So I just wanted to read a paragraph from the introduction written by Param Gurudev, wherein he is praising how Shri Gurudev has translated this book. So he says that in this connection, so this was originally written as a series of articles which were published in the monthly magazine Bhagavad Patrika. And then, upon the request of many devotees, this was compiled as a complete book. So, Shri Param Gurudev says that in this connection, I feel compelled to note that our highly distinguished translators' mother tongue is Hindi. So, Gurudev, hailed from Bihar. So, his mother tongue was Hindi, not Bengali. But he learned Bengali in order to study this book. After thoroughly mastering both the language and the subject matter, he accepted the difficulty and substantial labor of translating it into Hindi. I am very pleased at heart that he has expertly preserved the rigorous philosophy, the deeply profound analysis of rasa, and the lofty and subtle moods of the original book. The Hindi speaking world will remain indebted to him for this monumental work. So, translating a book, especially of something like Jaiva Dharam, is not easy. By Gurudev's mercy and his order, I was also engaged in translating from Hindi to English the second section of Jaiva Dharam, and reading every sentence and capturing the essence of what is written in there and making sure that it is translated correctly. It's a lot of effort, and I had help of many senior devotees, and Gurudev that time was probably the only Hindi speaking devotee in the mutt. Everyone else was mostly a Bengali devotee. So he himself took so much effort and labor to write this in Hindi. And those of you, we are doing the Hindi class also. And I must say, reading the Hindi Jaiva Dharam is so sweet. The language is amazingly sweet. My mother tongue is also Hindi, but we grew up studying in English medium schools. So only after I read Jaiva Dharam, I really realized and appreciated that how sweet the language Hindi was and how beautifully it could capture the Siddhanta. So when Gurudev translated this, Param Gurudev allowed him to translate the whole book. But before I go to the next part, I wanted to do a quick short quiz based on what we discussed last time. So this is going to be a very quick 2 questions. So this will come up on your screen. And if you can, let me. Okay. So there are just 2 questions. This is based on what we discussed last time. So first question is, how many sections are there in Jaiva Dharam? And the next question is, which of the following are contributions of Bhaktivinoda Thakur? So first question, you select one choice. In the second question, you can select multiple choices. So please, everyone, take a minute or so to answer these. And again, this is anonymous. So even if you get it wrong, it's perfectly fine. But doing these simple questions, it'll help us revise what we have discussed the last time. So I would encourage everyone to answer. So far, only 2 of you have answered. I don't know who to have answered, but only 2 have answered. So don't be shy. Please answer all the questions. Okay. So we have, okay, 5 of you have answered. So everyone has answered. Very good. That's, so I'm going to end this poll and I'm going to share the results. I think everyone can see. So Jaiva Dharam does not have 4 or 5 sections. It has 3 sections. So 3 sections are there. There are total 40 chapters. The first section, which we will start today with chapter 1, discusses the eternal religion, which is called Nitya Dharma, and Nimittik Dharma, which is temporary religion. So the whole first section discusses this in great detail. The second section talks about Sambandh, Abhidheya, and Prayojan. So some of these terms may sound not very familiar, so don't worry. When we get to those sections, you'll get a very strong understanding of this. But Sambandh means relationship, Abhidheya means the process, and Prayojan means the goal. So this is discussed in great detail on the basis of Dash Mool in the second section. And in the third section, he discusses the Ras Tattva, which is the transcendental mellows. So that's the three sections of Jaiva Dharam. And the second question was, which of the following are contributions of Bhaktivinoda Thakur? So in this was a multiple choice. So, well, the first, second, and fourth. So establishing Mayapur, I think most of them you got correct. Secondly, everyone got correct. But third cannot be considered his contribution, because third is saying establishing ritualistic practices described in the Vedas. So ritualistic practices that are not, they are only for attaining material benefits. And at the time of Bhaktivinoda Thakur, most were only focusing on these ritualistic practices, not understanding the real essence of the Vedas, which is self-realization and to understand the Supreme Lord and connecting with Him. So he actually wrote very profusely decrying the incorrect understanding of the Vedic scripture. So third would not be considered his contribution. So I hope that makes it clear. So I'm going to close this. So thanks again, everyone, for responding to these questions. So as I was saying, there are three sections of Jaiva Dharam. The third section is called Ras Vichar, which is discussing the transcendental mellows. Now, when Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, as well as our grand spiritual master, Shri Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, when they published Jaiva Dharam, they only published the first two sections. They did not publish the third section. The reason was, their concern was that if someone who is not qualified, if they read about Ras Vichar, about these transcendental, the Siddhanta Tattvas or transcendental mellows, then there will be a lot of misconceptions and misunderstandings. But when Param Gurudev asked Gurudev Narayan Maharaj to translate, he asked him to translate the whole Jaiva Dharam and also allowed him to publish all the three sections. Now, there is a discussion of this by Pujyapad Vaman Maharaj in his preface, as well as Gurudev's preface to Jaiva Dharam. I would not go through that in detail, but the essence of that is, and this is important for us to understand, that we have these instructions that only someone who's qualified should read, and therefore this should not be discussed in public. That is the main point. It is not to be discussed at all. That is not what the instruction is. Now, to reconcile this, we can refer to Chaitanya Charitamrit, written by Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami. So in Chaitanya Charitamrit, he also faced the same dilemma. When he came to discussing rasas, he was concerned whether I should write about this or I should not write about this. So in Chaitanya Charitamrit, and this Shri Gurudev quotes this in his preface. I just want to share these with you. Give me a second. Okay. So you can see this is in Chaitanya Charitamrit, 4 payars or verses. So what he's saying that ए सब सिद्धांत गुड़ कहते ना युवाए ना कहिले केह इहर अंत नहीं पाए. He says these esoteric and confidential conclusions regarding the amorous pastimes of Shri Krishna and the gopis, they are not to be disclosed to the common ordinary man. So that is important. Someone who does not have an understanding of the foundational siddhanta, the foundational principles as enunciated in the Gita, in Mahabharata, in Srimad Bhagavatam, the first few cantos before we come to the 10th canto. So without having that understanding, and someone who does not have taken classes on those initial topics, to such a person, these esoteric subjects should not be disclosed. It's very important. So all our acharyas have been very, very strict about this. But then he says that if they are not revealed, then no one will have the ability to enter this topic, right? So of course, this is a very high subject matter. Now, does that mean that we don't even write about it? So he thought about it and then he said, well, I understand that this should not be disclosed to the common man. But at the same time, if I don't write about this, then this topic will get lost. Now, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in this world specifically for this purpose, to give to us this Unnat Ujwal Ras, this very special mood of the Brajbasis, especially the Manjaris. We'll again get this to a later part in Jaiva Dharam, but he appeared specifically for this reason. Now, if what he came to give is not shared, then it will get lost. So then he said, well, only those who are actually qualified will have a taste for it. So he gives this very nice example. A sab siddhant hai amrer pallav, bhaktagana kokilera sarvada vallabh. That this entire doctrine is as sweet as newly grown mango sprouts, which can only be relished by devotees who are compared to cuckoos. So, if there is a crow and a cuckoo bird, and even if there is a grove of mango trees, very, very sweet mangoes, sprouts, the crow will not go there. He does not get attracted by it. But the cuckoo bird automatically gets attracted, will go there. So he says, if I write this, then those who are not advanced devotees, they will not have a taste for this subject matter. And he says those camel-like non-devotees cannot possibly gain admittance into these topics. So this is why it is important to understand the first two sections of Jaiva Dharam before we enter into the last section. And by the same reasoning, very important to first understand Bhagavad Gita and the first 9 cantos of Srimad Bhagavatam before we get into the 10th canto, especially Rasa Panchadhyay. So this is how we reconcile. Now, one other point that I want to just discuss from the introduction of Jaiva Dharam written by Param Gurudev. And this is, again, I would encourage that everyone should read the introduction. Gurudev specifically requests in his preface that we should read what his Gurudev, Shri Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Goswami Maharaj, has written as an introduction to Jaiva Dharam. He really discusses some very important topics there. So one point that he mentions that I want to bring up is why this book is called Jaiva Dharam. And he first says that the word Jaiv comes from the word Jiva. So in Sanskrit, by adding a pronoun, a prefix, then it becomes Jaiv, which means of the Jiva. Jiva means living entity. So Jaiva Dharam means the religion of the living entity. So I would quickly read here a couple of sentences. He says, therefore, Jaiva Dharam means the dharma of the Jiva, or the characteristic function related to the Jiva. So Jiva is living entity. What does a living entity mean? So Jiva means anyone who has Jivan. Jivan means life. So not just the human beings, but according to the Vedic scriptures, any entity which has life is a Jiva. So therefore he says that Jaiva Dharam, he uses a book called it Jaiva Dharam to indicate the constitutional function of the Jiva. And what does that mean? When you come to chapter 1, it's very beautifully described. So here he says, and this is, I just would like to share another verse here. Okay. So this Jaiv Dharam is based on this specific verse, which is called the root verse of Gaudiya Siddhanta. So everything that is given in Gaudiya Vaishnavism, the root of that is this verse, which is given in Chaitanya Charitamrita. No, sorry, not this one. Sorry, I've shared the wrong one. Let's see. So I don't have it here. So the verse is जीवेर स्वरूप है कृष्णेर नित्यदास कृष्णेर तटस्थ शक्ति भेद अभेद प्रकाश. So again, जीवेर स्वरूप है कृष्णेर नित्यदास कृष्णेर तटस्थ शक्ति भेद अभेद प्रकाश. That is the root verse on which the entire Gaudiya Siddhanta is established. What that means is that the constitutional position of the living entity is Jivera Swarupa Krishner Nityadas. He is an eternal servant of Krishna. And here, when it says Jiver, it's not just referring to humans, it's referring to every entity that has life, be it trees, be it insects, animals, birds, or human beings. Then he says, Krishna Tatastha Shakti Bhed Abhed Prakash. He is a manifestation of Krishna's marginal potency, and he is simultaneously different and non-different from the Supreme Lord. Again, what that means we'll discuss in detail in the first section of Jaiva Dharma. So now he says the question comes that what type of living entities are there? So Bhaktivinoda Thakur will again describe this in great detail in Jaiva Dharma, but briefly, there are 8.4 million species of living entities who are divided into 5 main categories. The first category is called Achhadit Chetan. Chetan means consciousness. Achhadit means covered consciousness. And in this category are the trees, the plants, and even the stones and rocks. So even the rocks have life, but this is completely covered. So this is called Achhadit Chetan. And the next is a Sankuchit Chetan, where it is still constricted consciousness. And this is the case of the birds, the animals, aquatics, insects, all of them come under this category. And the next one is called Mulukit Chetan, and that is called the budding consciousness. So just like when a flower blooms, before that, it's a small bud, right? So when the consciousness starts blooming, that is in the human species. Those who have still just not very favorable or inclined to spiritual life, but somehow they have started developing some interest. Then it is Vikasit Chetan, which is developed consciousness, and then Purna Viksit Chetan, fully developed consciousness. So these are the 5 categories of consciousness of living entities. So then he says that out of these, if we really consider carefully, then it is only the humans who have that higher consciousness through which they can understand the religious principles. In the other 2 categories, right, in the trees, plants, and animals, they don't have the ability to inquire about the purpose of life, even though we have many cases like where even in the animal forms there were devotees. So like Maharaj Bharat, he in his next life became a deer. Ahilya, she became a rock. Hanuman, he is in the form of a monkey. So like this, there are many examples, but these are very exalted personalities. So that means that even in these forms, there can be devotees, but in general, these are the forms of living entities where one only suffering the reactions of previous karma. In the human life, we have the ability to inquire about the transcendental subject matter. So, therefore, he says this book, Jaiv Dharam or Jaiv Dharam, in fact, really, even though it is for all the living entities, but because of the advanced subject, it is called Jaiv Dharam. It is only for humans. So then he comes up with a very interesting question that if it is only for humans, then why it is being called Jaiv Dharam? Then we could have also called it Manushya Dharam, or it could have been called the religion for humans. Why he is calling it Jaiv Dharam? Very interesting question. So there he answers. He says, well, we have to understand who is a human. He says the according to the material science, a human is someone who has this kind of shape, right? We have two eyes, a nose, we have two arms, legs, we stand straight on our legs. That's a human. But according to the Vedic definition, a human is someone who has not just the same activities as animals, but also has some rationality. So, what are the activities that a typical animal or any living entity for that matter does? Ahar, Nidra, Bhay, Maithun. Everyone eats, right? So, whether it's a dog or a cat, they all eat. Ahar, Nidra means sleep. They all take rest. Then means bhai. Bhai means fear or defending oneself. So in every species of life, they are able to sense enemy and they have the desire to protect themselves, right? And then the last one is Maithun, to indulge, to engage in relationship with the opposite sex, to have offsprings. So every living entity has this. Now, when we consider the humans, if we are only doing these four, then how are we different from animals? Right? The only thing that makes us different from animals is our ability to think rationally. So Param Gurudev, he uses the word rationality. So rationality means to be able to understand and to be able uh, to distinguish between the animalistic propensities and those things that make us higher than animals. So, only to be able to invent techniques so that we can sleep better or we can have more devices for sense enjoyment or more different weapons to protect ourselves, that doesn't make us better than animals. We can be called advanced animals, but not humans. So, for to be called human, we have to have an inclination towards spiritual principles. So, dharmen vihina pashubhi samana. So, one who does not follow religion, he says it's actually pashubhi samana. He is just like an animal. This is what the scriptures say. So, therefore, Param Gurudev says that if this book was called Manav Dharm or only the religion for humans, then all those large number of people who are in the body of humans but are not inclined towards spiritual principles would not be then qualified to read this or follow this religion. But because the Lord is so merciful, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, this is his quality. He came to make each and every one of us, no matter how fallen we are, to raise us from that level of complete degradation of animalistic propensities, to raise us to this level of higher consciousness. So, therefore, this book is called Jaiv Dharam because it is for every type of human being, irrespective of what level of their consciousness is. Right. So it's a very beautiful analysis of what is Jaiv Dharam. So after this, we will start now chapter 1, but let me pause for a couple of minutes and see if anyone has any questions. And Anand Pradayani, she has shared in here that verse. from Chaitanya Charitamrit, Jiva Swarup Hoy, Krishna Nityadas. So thank you for sharing. If anyone has any question, otherwise we'll start with chapter 1. Okay. So, and you can unmute yourself or you can put the questions in the chat as we even go along. So now we start by the mercy of our Guru Varga, chapter 1 of Jaiva. In the chapter 1, in the beginning, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, he provides the background of this whole storyline of Jaiva. So as we were discussing last time, Jaiva is written in the format of a novel. Novel meaning there is a storyline, there are different characters, and there is a lot of question answers. But we should not, it's a work of fiction. It is an actual story which happened several hundred years ago, and Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur is writing this in Jaiva. Now, the background of this is in Godrum Dweep. Where is Godrum Dweep? He says in the start of this chapter that in the entire universe, the Bhumandal, in the middle planetary system, which is called the Bhumandal, so there are 14 planetary systems. This is according to the Vedic cosmology, 14 planetary systems. The middle planetary system is called Bhumandal, in which there is the Jambudweep, the island of Jambudweep, in which the most superior place in there is the Bharatvarsh, or what is nowadays also called India. Now, this is Vedic cosmology. I would not go in detail. It is described in the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. And I was in the Hindi class also explaining that when you read the Vedic cosmology and the Vedic description of how the universe is structured or how these different planetary systems are, the one thing that we have to understand is that it is written from the perspective of higher beings who see more dimensions than what we see. We see our world only in 3 dimensions: length, breadth, and height. And therefore, we think that this is the way the reality is, but that's not true. For example, an ant only sees 2 dimensions, length and breadth. An ant cannot see height. So if we were in the society of ants and they were having a discussion and there was a big building in front of it, they would not be able to describe the building as an object that has height. So in their world, there is no height, but that does not mean that the building does not have a height. So similarly, we see a 3-dimensional world, but those who are higher living entities in higher planets, they see a multi-dimensional reality. So the Vedic cosmology has been described from the perspective of those higher living entities living in the higher planetary system. So if you read the 5th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, many devotees in the beginning, early years of the Krishna consciousness movement, when Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj was translating Srimad Bhagavatam, when they started reading, when he translated the 5th canto, many of them got very confused to the point that some of them even left because they could not reconcile that with what the scientific explanation is. So there is actually beautiful now analysis of how they reconcile very well. So Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that the best place in Jambu Dweep is the land of India. Why it is so superior? Because this is a place where the Supreme Lord has appeared himself in many, many incarnations. And not only him, but many great devotees of the Lord have also appeared in this land. And in there also, there are many holy places, but among them also, the place of Navadvip, the god Mandal, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, is considered the highest. And in there are 9 islands. And among them, there is an island called Godrum Dweep. So Godrum, Go means cow, and Drum means tree. So there was a huge banyan tree, because of which it is called Godrum. The islands of Navadvip, where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, are non-different from the places in Braj Mandal, where Lord Krishna enacted his pastimes. So this Godrum is non-different from Nandagaon, where Krishna stayed after they moved from Gokul to Chatikara, they came to Nandagaon, and is also non-different from Barsana, where Srimati Radhika stayed with her parents. So, why is this called Godrum? Because during the pastimes of Lord Shri Krishna, most of you know this pastime that when Indra became very angry, that Krishna prevented the residents of Vrindavan from offering the sacrifice and all the various preparations to Indra, because he is a demigod of rain. He controls the rain. So every year the Brajbasis will offer these great food items and also perform yajna to please Indra. But then Krishna stopped them, saying that the rain comes on its own accord. It is not that the demigods are responsible for it. Now, indirectly, he was wanting to engage them in the worship of the Supreme Lord, of Govardhan, who is non-different from Krishna himself. So he said, it is Giriraj who actually provides us everything. So we should go and worship Govardhan. So they all went, they listened to Krishna, they did Govardhan Puja. And then, as you know, Indra became very angry and he inundated Gokul and the whole Braj Mandal with torrential rain. At that time, Krishna picked up Giriraj on the pinky finger of his left hand and held it like that for 7 days and 7 nights. Finally, Indra realized that what a great mistake he has done. He has committed a grave offense unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Lord, that this little boy, 7-year-old boy, is not an ordinary boy. He is the Supreme Lord himself. Now, how to go in front of Krishna? He was feeling so scared. So then he thought, Krishna loves cows. So he requested Surabhi, who is a celestial cow in the heavens, to come along with him. They went to Krishna, prayed to him. Krishna was very pleased to see Surabhi. Of course, he was not very happy with Indra. So, anyways, he forgave him. But at the same time, Indra was feeling that even though externally Krishna has forgiven him, but I have committed an offense and I want to completely repent for it. So he asked Surabhi what we should do. So Surabhi said, let's go to Navadvip, because there, that is the place of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So it's not that Lord Mahaprabhu came just 500 years ago. He's eternally residing there. So he says that that's a place where all offenses are forgiven. In Braj Mandal, offenses are not forgiven, but in Gaur Mandal, all offenses are forgiven. So let's go there and perform austerities. They went there, and there Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared and blessed them that when I come, then you will serve me in my pastimes. And this is there here. Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that in this Navadvip Mandal, a beautiful settlement named Sri Godrum is eternally situated on the eastern bank of Bhagirathi River. So Bhagirathi is another name of Ganges. Why does he say eternally situated? So when Surabhi was staying in, and that's why it is called Surabhi Kunj, and that's where Sri Bhaktivinoda Thakur also, when he retired from family life, that's where he also went and stayed. And today also there's a beautiful temple in Surabhi Kunj. So when there was a rishi called Markandeya Rishi, and he was blessed with the life of 7 kalpas. You know how much is 7 kalpa? 1 kalpa is equivalent to 1 day of Brahma, and which is 1000 cycles of Chatur Yugas. Again, most of you have heard this, so I won't go into detail. Very, very long time. And between each of these kalpas, and even between the Chatur Yugi, there are some small devastations, and then there is Mahapralay. So there was a Mahapralay, and everything at that time becomes submerged in water. So Markandeya Rishi, who was not going to die because he had a life of 7 kalpas. So even during Mahapralaya, now everywhere was water. So he was trying to find, where should I go? Because it was just water everywhere. So swimming, he came close to Navadvip, and there he saw this Vat Vriksh, big banyan tree. So he was trying close to that. So Surbhi cow went and she pulled him out there. And there he came and he saw that this place, Navadvip, was not inundated. It was very beautiful. Everything was there, and trees and groves, but it was not inundated. So Surbhi told that this place is the place of Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Even during Pralay, it does not get flooded or inundated. So that's why it's called eternally situated. So there in Surbhi Kunj, there was one very great devotee who was residing. There were many great devotees who used to live and do bhajan, and one of them was called Prem Das Paramhans Babaji. So you have to remember this name, because throughout the first section to the next section will the Prem Das Babaji is one of the main personalities who will be responding to all the questions. And he used to live in there in a hut covered with vines and dense foliage, and spent his time constantly immersed in the divine rapture of bhajan. So here he very beautifully describes that how those groves were. So all the devotees and the sadhus, even as I was growing up, I remember my grandfather would take us to holy places. Those times it was very simple. They were not as commercialized as they are today, and there were not many people there. So whether you went to Brindavan or you went to Haridwar or Rishikesh, there will be very nice, beautiful ashrams. Beautiful not in the sense of pomp and show, but they were very simple. But there was a serenity, a spiritual serenity about these places. And sadhus would live there and perform real austerities and deep bhajan. So this is very conducive for spiritual advancement. Nowadays, there's a lot of pomp and show in religious circles also, but that's not necessarily very favorable for our um, spiritual upliftment. So Premdas Babaji was living there, and he was, and I want to read as we go through Jaiva Dharam. Again, I would not be able to read most of these sections or the paragraphs. That's why I highly recommend that you keep this book with you and read it before. But some sections I will read. So here, Premdas Babaji was very conversant with the conclusions of the scriptures. He had taken shelter of the forest of Sri Godrum with single-minded conviction, knowing it to be non-different in essence from Sri Nandagram. As a daily routine, Babaji Maharaj chanted 200,000 holy names. So 100,000 is 64 rounds of the chanting on the beads. So 200,000 means 128 times he will chant on these beads. And then he will offer hundreds of obeisances to all the Vaishnavas, maintaining his existence by accepting alms from the houses of cowherd men had become one of his regulative principles in his life. And whenever he found some spare moment, he would read the book called Prem Vivarth by Jagdanand Pandit. So this is how the sadhus live in holy places and completely detached, absorb themselves with minimal belongings. They completely absorb themselves in doing bhajan. So one day, one sannyasi came to his cottage, to his hut. Now, this sannyasi was from the Advait philosophy, or monists, right? Those who believe that there is no form of God. He is formless, no qualities, and we become one with him. We merge and become one with him. So he came and he fell at the lotus feet of Prem Das Babaji and asked him, and fell in front of him. When Babaji saw, now Babajis were also renounced, but they would wear white. Today also, we have Babajis and we have sannyasis. So they're both renounced, completely detached from family life, but the difference is that the Babajis wear white and they typically stay at one place. They don't travel and preach. Nowadays in our Gaudiya Sampradaya also, there are sannyasis who wear saffron and they travel and preach. Now, generally, a sannyasi is considered the highest, and a lot of respect is given because of their saffron clothes and because they're traveling and preaching. So, when the sannyasi bowed down in front of Babaji, the Babaji, out of deep humility, he said, "Please don't do this. Please be merciful upon this fallen wretch." Now, he is feeling very humble that how a sannyasi is offering prostrated obeisances unto me. But the sannyasi wanted to take the dust from the lotus feet of Babaji, but Babaji is saying, "No, please don't do that. What service can I offer to you?" So then this sannyasi narrated that how he has ended up at the hut of Paramhans Babaji. So he said, "I used to live in Kashi and I was an Advaitist, someone who follows the Shankarite philosophy of monism, that everything is one and the soul merges into the super soul or Parabram. Everything is one, there is no difference." And they chant Aham Brahmasmi, that I am also Brahman. Again, this whole philosophy will be discussed in detail as we go along section 1 of Jaiva. And he said that I had read all the different Vedic scriptures, Sankhya, Patanjali, Nyaya. Many of us may have not even heard this, but the very Vedic philosophy is very vast. So Purva Mimamsa, Uttar Mimamsa, Upanishads, Vedanta Shastras. But he said, still, I was not feeling satisfied within me. There was a sense of emptiness. I was not happy. And then one day I saw a Vaishnav devotee, a Vaishnav sadhu, go by the ashram where this sannyasi was living, and he was in great ecstasy chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Ha Gauranga, Ha Nitya, Hari Bol. Like this he was chanting, and tears were rolling down his eyes. He said, when I saw that how much ecstasy this devotee was in, I was completely mesmerized and attracted, because even after having read so many scriptures and performing such strict austerities, I never felt that level of ecstasy. So in Bhagavad Gita, Shri Krishna, he says to Arjun that those, he says, kleshaha adhiktara tesham avyakta asakta chetasam avyakta hi gati dukkham devadbhi avapyate. He says, those who worship my unmanifested impersonal feature of the Supreme, it is very, very troublesome. And to make progress in that discipline is always difficult for those who are embodied. We won't go through in detail of this, but what Krishna is saying, that those who worship my unmanifest form, those who follow this philosophy of monism or Advaitvad, they actually don't get the satisfaction or happiness, because this whole path is very, very troublesome. So he was so attracted and he wanted to go and find where I can find these devotees. So he, after a lot of reflection, he realized that this is not the philosophy, this is not the path for me to follow. I have to follow the path of, of, of what Vaishnavism that this particular devotee is following. So see, this is where that even those who are impersonalists, they, even after performing such austerities, also they get attracted by the process of bhakti. That's why bhakti is so powerful. And this is a verse in Srimad Bhagavatam where Sri Suta Goswami is saying, because the question was asked from him, that why did Shukdev Goswami, who was completely renounced Atmaram, Atmaram means one who is residing within the self. Atma mein Raman karte hain, that he has completely unconcerned, he was completely naked, Shukdev Goswami. No consciousness of anything worldly or material. So why did he, when Vyasadev ji, and this is the whole pastime, Shri Vyasadev, as soon as Shukdev Goswami appeared from the womb of Bitika Devi, who was Vyasadev's wife, he left for the forest. So Vyasadev, to bring his son back, he sent those hunters who go into the forest and ask them to recite this verse: Barha Pidam Natvar Vapuhu Karneo Karnikaram Bibrat Vasa Kanaka Kapisham Vaijantim Chamalam Randhran Venu Adar Sudhya Purena Gopa Vrindai Vrindaranyam Swapad Ramanam Pravishad Geet Kirtihi. They're describing the beauty of Krishna when he is in the forest with his cows, and then as he's cow herding and coming back into Vrindavan. Beautiful. Hearing this, Shukdev Goswami also became very attracted, and he gave up. Now, he himself, of course, is not a monist. He was actually a very great devotee, but he was acting like this. So Shukdev Goswami was asked, so Sut Goswami was asked this question. So there he says, Atma Ramascha Munyo Nirgrantha Api Urukrame Kuruvanti Ahetukim Bhaktim Ittham Bhut Gunohari. That even those who are Atma Ram, who are completely self-satisfied, that means, they are not attracted to any form of the Lord or anything like that, those who are monists, Nirgrantha Api Urukrame, but even they become attracted by Sri Krishna because everything about Krishna is so sweet. He's Adharam Madhuram Vadanam Madhuram. Everything about Krishna is so sweet. His pastimes, his form, his flute, his qualities, his devotees, everything about Krishna is so sweet that even they become completely enchanted and attracted by him. So this is what was happening to this sannyasi. He was seeing just a devotee, chanting in ecstasy. He was also very attractive. So he says that now, even though I have crossed 3 stages of sannyas, Putichak, Bahudak, and Hans. So there are many stages of sannyas. And in the Vaishnava philosophy, we consider 4. In the Advait, they consider 6 stages of sannyas: Kutichak, Bahudak, Hans, Paramhans, and then I think Vyotit, and then Avadhut. Turiya Atit and Avadhut. And whereas in the Vaishnava, it is Kutichak. Kutichak is when you are transitioning from Vanprasth to sannyas, and you go a little bit away from the family. You're still within the village or on the outskirts of the village, and the family still provides food and other things. And then slowly you get to the next stage of Bahudak, where you completely renounce the relationship with the family, and now the sannyasi goes to different homes and whatever madhukari he gets. Now, this was the traditional in older. Nowadays, we of course don't see this, but this is how it was during the Vedic times. Even during this time, about 300-400 years ago, when this Jaiva storyline is there. And then after that, they will go to Parivrajak. Parivrajak means where they are traveling and preaching, and then Paramhans, where they will stay at one place and do bhajan. So he's saying that I crossed the 3 stages of sannyas, but still I was not happy. So searching, I came to Vrindavan, and there I saw that how devotees were so much completely in ecstasy, thinking of Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and from there I heard the glories of Navadvip Dham. So I came to Navadvip after visiting all the holy places in Vrindavan, Braj Mandal. I came to Navadvip. There I came to know about you. So now I have come, and I want to fully surrender at your lotus feet. Now, hearing this, Babaji Mahashay, see what he says, and this shows the humility of a devotee. So Babaji says, O Sannyasi Thakur, I am absolutely worthless. I have uselessly spent my life filling my belly, sleeping, and engaging in futile talks. It is true that I have taken up residence in this sacred place where Sri Krishna Chaitanya enacted his pastimes. But as the days fly by, I find myself unable to taste this thing known as Krishna Prem. You are so fortunate, for you have tasted the divine love merely by seeing a Vaishnava for just a moment. So, this is the quality of a Vaishnava. A true Vaishnava is someone who is humble like a blade of grass. Trinatapi Shunichen Taror Api Sahishnuna. This is one of the main verses of Shikshashtakam, the 8 verses that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave. Because Krishna is only attracted by the genuine humility of a devotee, not by our erudition. He is not impressed by how many verses I can chant or how beautiful lectures I can give or how many big temples I can construct. He is attracted by the genuine humility of a devotee. So, and Amanina Manaden. They don't expect any respect for themselves, but offer all the respects to others. So he says that you are so much more fortunate that because just seeing a Vaishnava for a moment, you became so attracted. But I'm staying in this place, but I don't have that attraction. Now, of course, he's saying this only out of humility. Like this, they had this beautiful exchange of love and affection, and then Premdas Babaji offered that you can stay here for some time as long as you wish. And then Sannyasi Mahasaya says, no, what to talk of a few days? I have offered my body at your lotus feet. Why do you speak of a few days only? My anxious prayer is that I must serve you until I give up this body. So, this is the commitment a disciple should have when he takes shelter of a spiritual master, that now I have completely surrendered myself, my body, my words, my mind, everything at your lotus feet. Therefore, initiation should be taken after proper consideration and with full commitment. So he says, now I've completely offered myself to you. Now I don't want to go anywhere else. So like this, he started staying there, started serving Premdas Babaji. And then after some days, Premdas Babaji told him that my guru, Pradyumna Das Brahmachari, who's my Shiksha guru, he is here in Narsingpalli. So if you go to Godrum, there is this Surbhi Kunj, there is Suvarna Vihar, Harihar Kshetra, and Nrsinghpalli, where Lord Nrsingadev, after killing Hiranyakashipu, came and he took rest here. So he said, my Guru Dev, Pradyumna Brahmachari, is there. So let's go and take his darshan. So they both went. And as soon as he saw his Gurudev, he offered his obeisances from a distance. So whenever we see Krishna, we offer obeisances like this. So one thing that you will learn from Jaiva Dharam is not just the philosophy, not just the Tattva Siddhanta, but also the Vaishnav etiquette, the Vaishnav behavior, which is equally and probably even more important, that how devotees should interact with each other. So then Premdas Babaji went to his Gurudev, Pradyumna Das Brahmachari, and they both sat and discussed topics of bhajan. And the sannyasi Mahasaya was standing and watching that how the Vaishnavas interact with each other, how great humility that they show in their interactions. So then he was introduced to Premdas Babaji, introduced Sannyasi Mahasaya to his guru. And seeing this, Pradyumna Das Babaji was very pleased. And he said that you have found a true guru. Now, see, this is something very important. He is telling about his disciple that he is a good guru for you. So they see how in those days the mood was very udar. It was very wide-hearted. Nowadays, there is competition for making disciples, but that is not how the Vedic culture is. Wherever you found true bhakti, true siddhanta, there was even sometimes the gurus will encourage their disciples to go to someone who was much more advanced and learn from them. So Pradyumna Das Brahmachari, he says this verse, which is in Chaitanya Charitamrit, and this is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu speaking to Rai Ramanand. Kiba Vipra Kiba Nyasi Shudra Kene Noy, Ye Krishna Tattvaveta say Guru hoy. That it doesn't matter whether one is a Brahmin, he may be a householder, he may be a sannyasi, or what to talk of these higher classes, one may be Shudra, one may be just from a labor class. But that is not the qualification of a Guru. The qualification of a Guru is Krishna Tattvaveta. He should understand, he should fully understand and be able to explain Krishna Tattva, that who is Krishna, what his personality, what are his qualities, what are his pastimes, and should be completely surrendered, should have no even a particle of false ego within him. So, like this, they spent some time with Pradyumnas Brahmachari. They came back to their place. And now Sannyasi Mahasaya will finish in the next couple of minutes. Sannyasi Mahasaya was now staying for many days with Premdas Babaji, and now within his heart, he was getting this deep desire to ask questions, to understand Vaishnav Siddhant. So one day in the morning, he approached him, and that time Premdas Babaji was in his bhajan. He was in his antardasha, in his internal consciousness. This is a very high stage of bhajan. Those are very advanced devotees. So while doing this bhajan, while they're doing chanting the holy name, they are meditating on the pastimes of Radha Krishna, Ashtakalya Leela. In each of the 8 parts of the day, there are specific leelas. So they are completely absorbed, and sometimes they enter those leelas, they're completely absorbed in those leelas. So he is not in external consciousness, completely internally in consciousness, meditating on the pastimes of Radha Krishna. And there he says, in that internal consciousness, not knowing that Sannyasi Mahasaya is standing next to him, he says, "O Sakhi, silence Kakati, which is the name of a she monkey, at once, otherwise she will rouse Radha Govinda from the sleep of divine pleasure. Then Lalita Sakhi will become distressed and will rebuke me. Look there, Anang Manjari is signaling for you to do this. You are Raman Manjari, and this is your designated service. Be attentive in this regard." A very, very high point, which Bhaktivinoda Thakur is right in the beginning. He is giving this. You know why? Because when we read a book, when we read a scripture, there is something called Shruti Phal. Reading and hearing that scripture, what is the fruit that we are going to get? So he's giving that indication here that if someone sincerely reads Jai Dharam and follows what is given as a process, he will attain the stage of Siddha, Swarup Siddhi as it is called. One will be able to come or become qualified to understand your transcendental form, which is called Swarup, our real Swarup. So here he's indicating to the Sannyasi Mahasaya, even though Sannyasi Mahasaya is now at the beginning stages, he does not even know what his Swarup is, but his Guru is seeing it. So a real Guru knows what is the form of our soul, even though we don't realize it. And then he gives instructions accordingly. So he's telling him that you are Raman Manjari and this is your designated service. So then after, when he comes out of his internal consciousness and then he sees Sannyasi Mahasaya standing there, then Sannyasi Mahasaya bows down and says that I have a question that I want to ask from you, that what is Dharma? What is religion? I have gone and asked this question from many, many different religious people, and everyone gives different answers. But if religion is one, then why is it that different people give different explanation of what religion is? So this is a question he asks, and the answer to this we will discuss next time. Okay. Hare Krishna, Gaur Premanande, Hari Hari. So we'll stop here if anyone has any questions. Any question? Okay. Well, if no question, then we can stop. But from the next time, as there will a lot of question answers will be there. So I'm sure that everyone will have some questions next time. So next time we can go through this. So anyone has any question? I just want to make sure. Okay. Complete up to the end of chapter 1. Yes. So next time we will start chapter 1. I mean, we've already started. We have actually covered half of chapter 1, because the first half of chapter 1 is all these details about the how Sannyasi Mahasaya comes, and we should be able to finish chapter 1 next time, hopefully, and that's what we will try. So if you can read through the end of chapter 1, that'll be very helpful. Okay, thank you everyone. Thanks for joining. Hare Krishna, God Premanande, Hari Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.